Black power, y'all. Come on in the room. Come on in the room. Love it. I fucking love this song, unironically. I'm waiting for people to just jump on the live. We finna get into this Legend of Zelda. Oh my god. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Black power. Whoever jumped on. Invite your friends, invite your nerdy friends. This is a very popular video game that we're about to talk about. That's partly why I selected it. You feel me? Just waiting on my comrades to jump on. Alright, we got 4 people. That's enough. Black power, everybody. So, this is your boy, Rob. Chief of Agitation and Propaganda for the Black Hammer organization. Black Hammer has been busy making lots of news-related memes, having a whole bunch of drives this month. I actually just came from a food drive, or a hygiene drive, that we went to the most, I want to say hood, but I guess it is hood, but like the most distraught sector of Orlando, and we distributed jackets, clothing, and hygiene packs of soap and all that stuff like that, and it was really powerful. The people really appreciated it, so I want to thank all of y'all for donating to that. But there's still a lot more jobs that we're doing. As a matter of fact, tomorrow we have the damn, what the hell is it? It's like a jacket drive on the East Coast, like Baltimore in that area. So them comrades are doing it. I'm going to put all the cash apps below so all you comrades can donate. And
BH East Coast, and this is Wellington, Delaware.
My bad. It's BH East Coast on the cash app. Y'all can cash app them. It's actually a code drive in Delaware. So look out for that. Tomorrow we're going to be out there. We just did Orlando. We also just did Atlanta. So we really on the ground feeding the people. But we're also making videos like this, giving political education via the Revolutionary Book Trap and my own show, Proper-Gander, which is a show where we take regular schmegular media, you know what I'm saying, whatever you're into, comic books, video games, movies, you let me know, and I'll do a review on it, particularly centering the white nationalist, capitalist views and things of that nature. So, that all being said, we're going to tackle The Legend of Zelda. So, I know that there's like a million of Legend of Zelda games, but generally, the propagandistic elements are the same in every game. So this isn't like just one Legend of Zelda that I'm doing. I'm doing it as a series as a whole. Legend of Zelda is an insanely popular video game. One of the most, like, Nintendo can bank on it. You know what I'm saying? When they're going to release a Legend of Zelda game, it's guaranteed money. You feel me? That's how popular those games are. The plot is always very simple. You're like a white dude on a horse or some shit, or, you know what I'm saying, with a magical sword, and there's a princess that got to be saved. There's like a kingdom that is distraught, you know what I'm saying, and you gotta go save the princess. That's literally the story for all of them. But upon further digging, when you get really into the nerdy details of the context of all this stuff that's happening, the Kingdom of Hyrule and all these other races and monsters, you get into a kind of troubling kind of plot point. where people think that this kingdom, the Hyrulean kingdom, is a force for good, which we know in real life monarchies suck ass and are really fucking oppressive. I do want to start this off with a quote from Frantz Fanon. Frantz Fanon is a revolutionary he enacted a revolution in Algeria. But he was a psychologist, and he studied the effect of revolution on the psychology of colonized people's minds. So I find his work to be invaluable, and just as a colonized person, I just think that his work is valuable. And this one quote is very pertinent. So he says that all the values of colonized people, in fact, are irreparably poisoned and diseased as soon as they are allowed in contact with the colonized race. The customs of the colonized people, their tradition, their myths, above all their myths, are the very sign of that poverty of spirit and of their constitutional depravity. So, end quote. That was Frantz Fanon. What he's saying is that whenever colonized people come in contact with the myths, like stories of the colonizer, he says that they're irreparably poisoned. What he's referring to is the white supremacist tones of these kind of myths. And on the flip side, the colonized people's myths, you know what I'm saying? The colonized people's stories and religions and stuff like that, those are demonized in the white supremacist context. Y'all feel me? So, I think that that's insanely powerful because it has to do with this motherfucking show. You know what I mean? Like, propaganda, media, and all things like that are pretty much stories, are pretty much myths. You know what I mean? And the myths are reflected of the psychology of the person who wrote out those myths. Or not even as an individual, but like the class that it represents. You know what I'm saying? That's why superhero movies produced by the American state or whatever have a very, for a white leftist, you might call it fascistic or like fascist kind of undertones to them. They're super imperial, you know what I'm saying? The fucking Iron Man is all that shit is just like a super fucking imperialist, you know what I'm saying? And on the flip side, look at something like voodoo. Voodoo is highly demonized by white motherfucking people because of its association with Africa, you know? And the same as Santeria. In Puerto Rico, coming from my background, motherfuckers who practice Santerias are kind of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, demonized in that way. But Santeria was a way that colonized people retained their beliefs while going under the indoctrination of Christianity, which was the dominant Christian religion or European religion that they imposed on us. So I think that that's a necessary kind of framework to analyze all propaganda, specifically Legend of Zelda. Legend of Zelda is high fantasy. It's very typical high fantasy. You got a dude with a sword, you know what I'm saying? There's like all these other races. There's elves. There's magic. You want a motherfucking horse? You going to the magical forest? You know what I'm saying? You're making potions. It's a very high fantasy setting, and it's typical in that regard. It's that kind of story is European in its origin, right? Regardless if Japanese people made Legend of Zelda, that kind of story, high fantasy, is European in origin. And just with the relationships, like you can always see that there's like a race of people that is super generalized. Their identity is created by their race, and they're oppressed. You know what I'm saying? For example, Lord of the Rings, another high fantasy like movie, right? They have like the orcs, and the orcs are inherently evil. Like if you an orc, you evil. You know, that's very indicative of the racist white supremacist ideals that Europeans have. You know what I'm saying, and that they must propagate via their media. In the same regard, you know what I'm saying? You got like the elves, and they're like not elves. What the fuck? The dwarves. The dwarves are like headstrong, and they like fucking around with iron and shit like that. But then you look at elves, and they're the whitest character. They have blonde hair and shit. Sometimes like the lightest hair, the fairest skin, and then the lightest eyes. And the elves in Lord of the Rings, they're like masters of science, masters of magic. They created the forest and that myth and shit like that. So like the closer you are to whiteness, the more divine you are in these kind of stories. And Legend of Zelda is not different in that regard at all. If you play Legend of Zelda, you usually fight or you should be familiar with the Kingdom of Hyrule. The Kingdom of Hyrule always employs the main character, the main hero, Link, to save them. You know what I'm saying? Do some sort of bidding. You know what I mean? Or like just fight like the demons that are fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? Hyrule is the main kingdom. All the other races have like depend on Hyrule for their own to even, you know what I'm saying, like have their own shit. You know what I mean? Like that's something that you read via like text, like when you interact with the with like the Gorons, which is like a rock people. You know what I'm saying? They'll speak awesomely of like the Kingdom of Hyrule and stuff like that, and how they want to serve the king. Or the Zoras, which are like fish people. They always like when you talk to them, they're always concerned with what's going on in Hyrule. Like Hyrule is the hegemon of this world. You know what I'm saying? But Hyrule, if you follow the timeline, it has its origins in genocide and slavery, essentially. So I guess the myth goes as follows, right? There's a goddess Hylia, right? That for some sort of egotistic endeavor or whatever, she made this kind of symbol, or it's like ethereal. It's like a symbol of power, but it also, like, if you hold it, it gives you power. It's the Triforce, right? It's those three triangles that motherfuckers always has, like, the symbol of the series, right? She created that shit and then entrusted the Hylians or whatever to guard that fucking trinket of power. And she even, like, brought, like, where the Hylians were at, she rose the land into the motherfucking sky, and that's where the Hylians are. The Hylians are white fucking people. They're blonde haired, blue eyed, in a lot of different instances. Link and Zelda have been blonde haired, blue eyed, Aryan motherfuckers, and they literally have their origins by sitting above the rest of the world, looking down on them with their entrusted like symbol of power, right? So one day a so-called demon, you know what I'm saying, took down Princess Zelda from Skyloft, that's what it's called, like that island, you know what I'm saying? And eventually, like, the Skyloft or whatever crashes down onto the rest of the world, you know? So Black Power, Tito. So the Hylians or whatever, they had to like struggle to maintain their power. You know what I'm saying? Like, now that they were on the ground or whatever, they had to guard their shit from all these other different races, like the Sheikah, or like I said before, the Zorons or the Gorons and shit like that. It's a whole bunch of motherfucking races. But yeah, like, in that kind of struggle, they organized the Kingdom of Hyrule. And the kingdom of Hyrule, obviously, they organized state power and started enacting genocide on the other fucking races. And if you read about the other races, it is implied, or it is shown that some of them had even a stronger relationship to Hylia, the god, than the Hyruleans did, or the Hylians did. You know what I'm saying? AKA the white people. So to me, that's very reflective of the European settler ideology. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all, like Europeans think that they're like the chosen one, that they're above people. And in Legend of Zelda, the Hylians were literally physically above the rest of the world. So there's that. And when it's like that top part, that island was Europe, and then like metaphorically, when the island fell down and brought like white people onto these other lands, it started like war and shit. That's like an invasion from Skyloft. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's obviously a fuck ton of different games. You know what I'm saying? What I just described happened in one game, but other events happen in other games that you see that they have built their fucking empire. You know what I'm saying? Every other race is like pushed out to the corner. You know what I'm saying? They're dead ass in the center, and you see countless examples of examples and clues that they enact this kind of genocide on people. One of the characters, right? Like the most iconic characters are Princess Zelda, the imperialist daughter, Link, the so-called hero that always fights for the kingdom, and then there's Ganondorf. Ganondorf is the evil dude, and Ganondorf is visibly black. You know, like you could say that he might even have like some ambiguity with him. Like sometimes like his face is shaped like a Arab person. You know what I'm saying? But visibly he's black, dude. He even has like his hair in like Bantu knots and shit, or like braids in general. Like that's their conception of evil, and that's what Frantz Fanon is talking about. That like these kind of myths are filled with poison to colonize people. Because if a young person looks at motherfucking Legend of Zelda, plays Legend of Zelda, which all jids do, they play that game. If they see that shit, they gonna associate their own skin color with evil, and associate European features like Link's and Zelda's with good, which is backwards as fuck, even in this motherfucking story, you know? So there's the Garuda people. Ganondorf is the Garudan people. Like he's from his people were pushed off just like the rest of the world was when the Highlands invaded, right? And his people are pretty much known as like shifty thieves and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like just generally bad people. But if you really think about it, if the psychology is anything like it is in real life in this motherfucking universe, then whenever you're impoverished, whenever you're put into a situation where you have to do anything to survive, you will do some fucking crime. Period. And that's what happened to the Garuda people. Like, you see them live in the fucking desert. You can't grow no fucking food in the desert, bitch. Or if you can, I don't fucking know how. Just generally, those are hostile environments. So obviously, they had to subscribe to it to survive. So there's that myth about the Garuda people. And in the most famous game, in Ocarina of Time, I know y'all fucking played Ocarina of Time. I know y'all fucking played that game. But there's an ending that when or maybe it happened in the middle of the game, but there's like time travel in that game, right? Where Link goes to the past or whatever and tells Princess Zelda that, hey, Ganondorf is no good, because up until then he was like subservient to the king, but really he was plotting like a real one, like He's about that life. You know what I'm saying? He was plotting on the fucking king, finna get his resources. But Linko, bitch ass, came back in time and was just like, yo, Princess Zelda, you know that this dude is like a fuckboy, right? Like, he's plotting on you. And Zelda was like, what? Oh, hell nah. So she gathered her state and enacted genocide on the motherfucking Garuda people. That's the second genocide in this motherfucking series. Like, fans of the series know that it splits off to different times. The ending that happened, where he goes back in time and snitches on Ganondorf, there is no Garudas to be found in that line of games. You know? So yeah, like this kind of video game just brimming with white supremacist ideals like that. Like white people being the closest to God. The Garuda people, the essentially black people, sometimes like ambiguously Arab, they worship another god that's not Hylia. They worship like a snake woman, which looks way doper. But even their conception of God is a white woman. You know? Shit goofy. Shit's super fucking goofy. But yeah, those are the themes of motherfucking Legend of Zelda. I know that this is like an obscure, nerdy kind of review. Like, you have to be like really into Legend of Zelda to know what the fuck I'm saying. But fans of the series know. Feel like y'all stream is getting DDoSEF. I don't know what that is, but can you see me? Like if you can see me. Let's see. Okay, it's looking okay. No, I've been having streaming issues, comrade. But yeah, Legend of Zelda, just like the rest of like this high fantasy, is entrenched in racism. It's entrenched in white supremacy. I don't know if like the capitalist themes are necessarily there, because it's like a feudal kind of era, but I would argue that capitalism is just an evolved form of feudalism. But if there's anything that I want y'all to take from this review or like this breakdown, is if when you motherfucking play Legend of Zelda, understand that you're looking at colonized land. Everyone is pushed back. You know what I'm saying? All the races are segregated. You know what I'm saying? Hyrule is in the center and encroaches its territory. You know what I'm saying? There's two races that used to exist that are no more. You know what I mean? Hyrule is a white supremacist symbol. If that fucking world like developed and colonized people rose up and overthrew the Hyrulean people, history would remember that fucking Triforce as a white supremacist symbol. Also, not for nothing, this isn't like necessarily scientific, but in my experience, motherfuckers who have that like Hyrule symbol, like, oh man, I just like Legend of Zelda, be like slick white nationalist. Like, at least when I was in high school and shit like that, them motherfuckers always had like the widest fucking politics before I was even politically relatively astute. But yeah, Black Power, y'all. I just wanted to get this video out. I'm self-critical. I owe y'all all the self-criticism. I was not able to like promote this video how I wanted, because I was busy trying to do the hygiene drive for Orlando, and I was even thinking like, I don't even know if I'm gonna do this, but this is something that has been on my mind, you know what I'm saying, for a hot minute. So hopefully y'all fuck with this video. If you don't, jump in the comments and we can argue about it. Black Power.